Hi friends. I had to go in and edit and make this public. I hope I did it right. I see 2 people. 3 people. Hi, is it Rhea? Ray? How are you doing? Oh, it's 3 a.m. Rhea, okay. Thank you. I'll wait for more people to get here before I talk about my conversation today. I'm doing pretty good. It's been a little bit stressful and, well, probably for everyone. So, Sabrina has been dragging more about doing her online kindergarten. I can usually keep her, or I can usually get her to stay during her Zoom sessions, but as far as like doing the homework, it's a little difficult. Hi, Terry. Hi, Douglas, West Haven. Hi, Tim. Okay, so most of you are probably familiar with the character I play named Sylvia, who is based on a real person. And she used to have our phone number. And we've had this number for over 6 years now. And we still get calls for her all the time. It's usually scammers, sometimes political calls. We get the same companies calling that say they're going to update their info and they never do. And once in a while, we get one of her old friends calling, trying to figure out where she is. And years ago, one of her husband's friends, who was on a rowing team with him, he called looking for them. And he said, you know what? I heard that they were in this, I won't say the town, but he heard that they were in a retirement home in a certain town, not too far away from here. And then he called back and told me the name of the place. And then I think less than 6 months later, I was meeting some friends for lunch in the area, and I accidentally drove past the restaurant and went too far. And then I saw the retirement home, and I was just dying to meet Sylvia. But I have no idea what she's like or what condition she's in. And, you know, I don't want to intrude on anyone. And so earlier this week, one of her friends called again and left a message saying that she was hoping to find her, and she tried to get a hold of a mutual friend, and it seemed like the number was no longer working, which is really heartbreaking because I wonder what are the chances that their friend passed away. I mean, people from my generation having social media, that will probably never happen to us because there'll be announcements and stuff. So it just makes me so sad that that's how they find things out. So I called her friend back and I got her voice message. And I told her who I was, and I said this is the phone number of the place where Sylvia lives. And she didn't call me back, so I hoped that she got my message and that she called the place. And then I finally got brave enough to call the place myself. And I've been doing the Sylvia voice, I think, for 4 years. I don't even remember the first video where I decided to be Sylvia. And so I didn't know if she was like a patient, and I said, hey, is there a patient named Sylvia living there? And of course I gave her full name, and they said, well, there's a resident. I said, oh, okay. And so I explained a little who I was. I said, I'm the person that has her old phone number. I would really love to be able to pass her new number to her friends, so they have her direct number. And they said, well, we can't give you that. And I said, oh, I totally understand. So they left a message for Sylvia in her mailbox, and that was, I think, at least 5 days ago. And I thought, okay, maybe she doesn't want to talk to me. Maybe she doesn't understand what I'm calling about. And then today at 12:30, who was on my caller ID? It totally made my day, you guys. Sylvia is like everything I could wish for her to be. She is so sweet. She's sharp. And in her new place, she says she gets scam calls. And she said that one time Roger almost fell for one. So they got the, what do you call it? The grandma scam. Hi, Deo. So they got the phone call from someone pretending to be their grandson, saying that they got in a car accident and for whatever reason were asking for money. And he said his voice sounded different because his nose was broken. So Roger was starting to fall for that. And then Sylvia stepped in and said that it was a scam. And we probably talked for an hour. It was so great. And then she just called a little bit ago again while I was making dinner. And then I had to go. But she actually gave me her email address, and I sent her a photo of me and my girls wearing our comfies that we got. And so she said she just finished up dinner and did some cleaning and stuff, and now she doesn't have much to do this evening. But it turns out that she just got back from Hawaii, and that just makes me so happy. Like, I love that she hasn't been cooped up by herself like so many people are. Oh, Tim, I'm so sorry. Was that expected? And so, yeah, I wish I could have recorded it just so I could remember everything that we talked about. And oh, I told her how I started pretending to be her. And she thought that was pretty funny. And I said, oh, actually, oh, thank you, Hero. I said, actually, sometimes I pretend to be Roger, too. And then she said, you might as well resurrect him. I just love her. And my husband said, you have a new friend now? I'm like, yes, and I love it. Seriously. Oh, I just love her. Oh, and she told me that one time she got one of those pop-ups where a loud recording is playing at you, and it was this woman's voice telling her, "You are going to be arrested." And it said because of pornography malware or something like that. And she didn't know how to deal with it, and she tried unplugging it, but she thought maybe she didn't unplug the right thing. And so she just closed the door and left it running like that for she left it running, I think she said 2 or 3 days, until her grandson could come over and deal with it. And I'm so glad she didn't click on anything. She said she couldn't hear it from where she was. So she just decided, I'm just not going to deal with it. But she was so confused. How is it still doing that when I unplugged it? Hi, Jean. So this very much lifted my spirits today. I seriously thought she was never going to call me, and I didn't know like what to expect. I mean, when I was a young adult living with roommates and stuff, so our church had a singles congregation, and we decided to do this activity where we went to a retirement home and play games with the seniors. And me and my friend Dave, we decided to play rummy with these old men, and they were hilarious. Hi, John. Meanwhile, one of our friends was trying to visit with an elderly woman. So while we were having a nice chat while playing rummy with the men, this woman was saying to her, "You're pretty, but you sure are dumb." So I had no clue like, what it was going to be like talking to Sylvia, but yeah, I've put it off for years just because I don't want to intrude on anyone, or yeah, or what if she was really sick. I just, didn't want to hassle the woman. And then, so one of the old men, he refused to wear false teeth, but he would still eat steak. Like he would gum the steak. And one of them reaches across the table and puts his hand on mine and says, "You married?" And I said, "No." Okay, this was back when I was 19. And he goes, "You're pretty enough to be." It's a little awkward. And so after that, my friend Dave and I decided we wanted to go to that place on a regular basis and keep coming back to play games with the men. And the next time we went there, they weren't in the recreation area. And so we walked down the halls looking for them and peeked our head in and found one of the guys, and he was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And one of the other guys came by, and he peeked in, and he was excited to see us too. And the guy whose room it was, he says, "These are my friends, get your own dang friends." And then the other guy said, "I'm gonna come over there and beat the crap out of you." It was the funniest thing. And we said, "Okay, we're here to play with both of you. It's okay, don't fight." And so when my friend Yvonne was in a rehab place after she had her stroke, it wasn't really all that surprising. When I was going to make a video about this, I never did. So she, during the presidential debate, the first one, she was messaging me that the nurses hadn't brought her insulin yet. They were late bringing it, and I said, okay, do I need to call them? Do I need to drive over there and beat on their doors and tell them to get it for you? And it turned out they were late because she told me there was a riot. And I thought, there's no riots in that town. And then I realized she's talking about the residents. They were watching the debate together. And they started fighting. And she said a box of Kleenex went skidding across the floor. And this just sounds like a movie. But apparently fights in nursing homes are not that uncommon. But I was crying with laughter when she told me this. And I said, they should really ban like watching anything like that together. So anyway, I have lots of fun experiences with the elderly, and I actually years ago, my husband and I were newlyweds and didn't have kids yet. I used to help take care of a woman who had Alzheimer's. And she was so sweet. I loved her. So she lived with her daughter and son-in-law, and they couldn't leave her alone, obviously, but they needed someone to give them a break because they really needed a rest. And I would turn on aerobic shows, and she would sit on the couch, like lifting her arms up in the air, and she was just delightful. And that helped me learn a lot more about Alzheimer's because I didn't realize that you actually forget words and stuff. So she would like point at a napkin and say, flower, flower. She didn't know the order in which to wash her hands. There was a morning, there was a guy who came by and said, I'm looking forward to seeing you at church, Anne. And she did manage to remember that he said that, but that got her thinking that church was the next morning. So I walked in and she was getting dressed for church, but she had her bra on over her shirt. And I said, Anne, do you need some help? And she looks down and she goes, yeah. And then she just laughs her head off. Like she laughed all the time. So that was a great experience while I had the opportunity to do so. So anyway, I told Sylvia that I'm going to listen to my messages again and try to get her friend's phone number. Her friend was either calling about a friend named Peggy or her name is Peggy. I can't remember which it was. And hopefully she left her phone number because it may have been kicked off of my caller ID by now. Or it might just tell me the phone number that called. So, hi W2. Let me catch up here. Hi Mary. Mary says, I worked in a nursing home for 14 years. Fights do occur. I loved it. The elderly have so much to offer. They do. We used to also go and Christmas carol at nursing homes, and one thing that was really cool, we actually went there with a preschool one time, and as the kids sang the songs, the residents remembered all of those words, like even if they had dementia. Like music is so powerful. Okay, let me catch up on the comments here. Yeah, I'm hoping that Sylvia will want to talk on a regular basis. Oh, and she was cracking me up because she said she's supposed to stay in her room. She's not supposed to leave at all. But she says, my car's down in the parking garage. I just leave and I don't tell anybody. So she does go and see family, and rock on, Sylvia. I'm really glad she's not alone for months on end, because she doesn't have her husband anymore. Oh, Julie, that's so cool. Julie says, I was a music therapist for 12 years at assistant living. Oops, cancel. I was trying to scroll and it looked like I was putting Julie in timeout. Hi, Jessica. Yes, I love talking to the elderly. And oh, I also had an experience where I was about 19, and I had moved to Utah, and I got a job at it was a video and pizza place, and they didn't give me as many hours as I hoped for. And so when I saw an opening for a home health care company, uh, I decided to go for that. And I was actually hoping to work with kids with disabilities, like I got to do in one of my classes in high school. I asked them if that was something that was a possibility, and they said, oh yeah. And they ended up suddenly sending me to an elderly woman's home, and they told me that all she needed was someone just to keep her company and maybe cook for her or something. But they didn't train me at all. They sent me there for the whole weekend to relieve someone, and she wasn't in a special bed, and I had to get her from the bed to her wheelchair, from the wheelchair to the toilet, and then back. And she would wake up several times during the night, and I just didn't have what I needed to do that without hurting myself. So my back was strained by the end of the weekend, and you couldn't hold on to her arms because her skin was so thin. It would tear if you did that. And she didn't want to talk to me at all. Like she was very depressed, and it turned out that her sister had passed away the week before, and she would just tell me things like, my father lived to be X years old, and I hope I don't live that long. And my grandpa had just died, and that was a really hard weekend, and there wasn't any TV to watch. And out of all of the things I could have brought to read, recently I had decided I wanted to read The Hiding Place, and that was a terrible choice, considering I was still grieving. If you don't know what that is, it's about these Christian women who hid Jewish people in their house, and had a pretty heartbreaking outcome, and is a true story. So yeah, that was one of the most difficult weekends of my life. And her name was Nola. Oh, and they said that they pay you less at night because they're going to be sleeping all night long, but no, nighttime was much more difficult. And so by the end of that weekend, I had to quit because my back was all screwed up. So they should have had a bed that sits up and stuff. And then her daughter had told me that she would come over and get her ready for church, and then Nola insisted that I get her ready, and I said, well, Gina's coming over to do it. She goes, no, she's too busy. She spent most of the weekend just bossing me around. And it's very hard to get nylons on someone who can barely stand. And then her daughter came over and said, I was going to do that, Mom. And then I told her daughter, this company did not train me, and I would look for help from someone else. I said, this is not okay. Yeah, because I could have hurt her moving her out of her bed and to her wheelchair and everything. So, and then many years later, this was decades later, like 20 years later, we had some of our missionaries over for dinner, and one of them said that he was from, I think it's Springville, and I just blurted out, "Hey, did you know a woman named Nola?" And he said, "That's my grandmother's name." And for real, that was his grandmother, and she had since passed away, and which was exactly what she wanted. But yeah, that was a really bizarre coincidence. But I had wondered for many years how Nola was doing. Yeah, so after I suddenly had to quit that job because there was just no way I could do it, and they were trying to get me to take a job in a city pretty far away where it was going to be 12 hours a day. there was there was no way. That's when, so I went 3 days without eating at that point. They hadn't paid me, and I, yeah, had nothing, and I just went looking for any job I could get. That was when I got my dog washing job. I went to a pet store looking for a job, and then they said, "Well, we have a dog washer position available." I did that amazingly for 3 months. I actually made a video about that, you guys. So I won't tell the whole story here, but I think I called that video my job from hell. And then I have never made a video about this one, but I went and worked for a psychiatrist after that. And then but that was still a very part-time thing. I would go in the mornings, my roommate would go in the afternoons, and then he decided that he wanted to get someone who could do the receptionist stuff and be his accountant. And so then I went and did a data entry job. You know, long stories, but I'm glad you came, W2. Hi, Lenny. So, yeah, I have lots of interesting adventures. Hi, Diana. Oh, you missed the whole story? Diana, in short, I talked to the real Sylvia today on the phone, and I couldn't be happier about it, and she's absolutely delightful. And we'll probably talk to each other regularly, I think. So this, having problems with the scroller here. All right, let me catch up on more comments. I'm just very blah, blah, blah. So hi, Nanette. It's always good to see John Wright. And Jean. Tim. Sorry if I miss anyone. Sometimes if I go back and watch the chat afterwards, I'll see that there was someone in the chat that didn't show up for some reason live, and they probably thought I was totally ignoring them. Goat. I think I have two Marys here. Do I? So I could hardly wait to share that with you guys, and I almost made a video the other day just to tell you guys I left a message for Sylvia. So I'm kind of glad I waited, because now I can just kind of tell the whole story at once, where I did indeed talk to her. Okay, now I can't get the scroller to go back down. Here we go. So you guys tell me, what is the worst job you've ever had? I know there's going to be some good stories here. I'm going to move this a little bit closer to me. I'm so tired today because I wasn't feeling very good, and the scammers started calling at 6 this morning, for real, like 6 o'clock on the dot, and I didn't manage to answer the phone for the 6 o'clock one, but I knew it was a scammer because that's always who it is. All right, still catching up. Hi, Jessica, if I didn't say hi to you. Tim, again, I'm so sorry about your mom. Okay. Prabhav? I'm probably saying your name wrong, I'm sorry. Prabhav had to go to school. Oh, Fried Green Tomatoes, I love that movie. Douglas says some of these stories remind me of the movie Cocoon. If you guys haven't seen Cocoon, you should. I haven't seen that in forever. It's funny. Tim says I was going to make myself a salad and I forgot to get lettuce. I think lettuce is one of the more important ingredients, unless you're making a pasta salad. Do you have any pasta? So my kids are having a hike this weekend. This will be the first in-person thing with their church group for I don't know how long. Oh yeah, I saw the news about Cloris Leachman. Hi Heather. I love her. If you've never seen the show Malcolm in the Middle, there are episodes with Cloris Leachman as the evil grandma, and she's the grandma that you love to hate. Hi, Glenn. Desert Goat says, the worst job I worked for is McDonald's, but I can't complain because I made some good friends. There's usually a positive in everything somewhere. Diana says 6 a.m. What's to stop them from calling at 4 a.m., 3 a.m.? I think they don't understand that the time zones, so I think they are running on Eastern time. So when they call me at 6, they think they're calling at 9 because they're idiots. Art Lady's here? Yeah, Julie. Cloris Leachman passed away. It's very sad. I mean, she was in her 90s, but it's still very sad. I love her. Douglas says, I've had a lot of worse jobs. I should have taken my own advice and become the Orkin man. You told your mom you wanted to be that when you grew up. I think they make a pretty good living. Art Lady says, helping my husband work cattle, stepped in all kinds of cow poop. The soggy ones were the worst. But I keep tapping on things. Okay. The cow slobber. Ew. Ew. No. Tim, you've been getting car insurance scammers? I got the winning a vacation from Marriott today, and I kept them going for a while, and they wanted me to, well, they say they were giving you a good deal on a vacation package, and I decided to be Sylvia for that one, and I said that I wanted to call them back because I needed to go over my budget to see if I could afford it, and he says, well, I can only give you that promotion right now, and then he passed me on to somebody else, and then I told the lady that, well, I also needed to talk to my doctor and see if it was okay for me to travel. And she goes, well, you can travel for, you don't have to use it right away. And I said that I have ongoing medical issues, and so I still needed to check with my doctor before I committed to anything. And then they just hung up. If I don't have time to mess with them, sometimes I'll just pick up and be like, hello, do you want to go on vacation with me? Yeah, I've been getting the Amazon people a bit too. I didn't keep them on very long the other day though. I feel like, they don't make shows that are as funny as what they had like back with Carol Burnett and things like that. She's hilarious. I would make an awesome grandma. Thank you. Hopefully none of my kids will make me a grandma yet, because, well, they're young and not married. All right, still catching up on comments. I'm sorry if I have caused anyone to feel unloved, but I have some scrolling issues. Hi, Anne Marie. Happy New Year to you. So I'm not going to stay on too long because I promised Sylvia that I was going to go get her friend's phone number. Hi, Barbie. Lenny, did I say hi to you? Just so you know, I love all you guys. I'm not ignoring anyone on purpose. All right, I think I mostly caught up. So, do you guys want to hear some stories from when I worked at the psychiatrist, or should I make a separate video? You want to hear it right now? Yup, you want to hear it right now, or yup, you want me to make a separate video? Hi, Ellie. Okay. So, when I had the morning shift, I typically worked before the patients came in. So the doctor, he would be at the hospital with patients who were suicidal, and I would come in first thing in the morning. I would listen to all the voice messages, and I would write down the messages on a pad of paper. So he wouldn't actually listen to the messages. He would just kind of get the gist of what was going on. And lots of the messages were just things like, I need a refill on my Xanax or something. And I noticed there was kind of a difference with the people who asked for Xanax, because they would call it my Xanax. And it made me feel kind of afraid of it. Like, I thought, if anyone ever wants to prescribe me Xanax, I don't think I'm going to take it. And I'm sure it's very helpful, but I have like a phobia of becoming addicted to any kind of medication. So both of my mom's parents were alcoholics, and I just feel like it's in my genes to become addicted to things. So, hi Vita. Um, so, and sometimes there were very interesting messages. Um, like one lady, she was psychotic, and apparently she had a nightmare in the middle of the night, and then she thought it was real. And she left a message for the doctor saying, I know you're a good doctor and you want to help me, but I'm very offended that you called me a whore or prostitute to my face. So here I am writing everything on the notepad. Okay, whore or prostitute to my face. And then the doctor came in. And I said, hey, so-and-so is very offended that you called her a whore or prostitute to her face. And he goes, oh, did I? And then he just laughs. Like, sometimes it's all you can do, is laugh about stuff like that, or else it's kind of depressing. And then there was a guy, yes, he was on Xanax, so, but he also had a drug abuse problem. And so the doctor would only give him 7 days of Xanax at a time. And so he obviously wanted to have more of it. And so the first time he tried to get him to give him more, he had obviously taken all of the Xanax. So he calls up, and we'll say that his name is Bob. Hi, this is Bob, and somebody stole my Xanax. I just need a doctor to write me a new prescription. So I told this to the doctor, and he goes, no. And so I always get to be the bearer of bad news. I had to call this guy and said, doctor says no. And he was thinking, oh, that wasn't very smart of me to take all of it and then call. So the next time he decided to call before he took it, and he said, this is Bob, and I'm not going to take this medication that doctor gave me, and I'm flushing it down the toilet. And I said, okay, he's not going to make you take it. Well, I'm not taking it. And I said, well, it's up to you. Yeah, well, I'm not. And that's part of where I got my experience being very calm on the phone. And so literally 2 minutes later, he calls back and goes, that probably wasn't very smart, and I really should take it. So if you would just have him write me another prescription. And I said, I'll give him the message. And of course, the doctor said, no. So, yeah, that's another big reason why I don't think I would ever take that medication. Oh, there was a guy who was really nice. He was completely bald, and when he came in one time, he said to me, hey Sarah, I like your hair. And I didn't really know what to say, and I said, I like yours too. And he thought it was so funny. So every time he called, he would leave a message that he liked my hair. So most of the people were just, someone just struggling with depression. Oh, there was a guy who yelled at me. It was at least 10 minutes. So he thought he was special friends with the doctor and was livid that he billed him for his services. And he was just ranting and saying, well, is he going to call me and apologize? And I said, well, all I can do is pass on the message. And the doctor's wife was actually sitting right there. And afterwards she's like, I'm very impressed with how you handled that. And yeah, I just kind of had to keep repeating that, like, okay, I'm going to give him the message, and I can't tell him how to handle the situation, but I'll definitely tell him that you called. And there was also another situation where someone was upset because their son was feeling suicidal, and the policy is to tell them to go to the ER. And the doctor had said, do not ever page me to tell me that someone is suicidal, because he's with suicidal patients at that moment. He says, tell them to go to the ER. And this lady just wasn't listening, and she said, I want you to page him. And I said, I can't do that. And she just would not let up. And I said, okay. Let's see. She said, well, I don't think I like your attitude. And I said, and I don't like the fact that you're trying to get me to do something that will get me in trouble with my boss. So I finally said, okay, I'm going to page Dr. Brown, and he's going to be mad. So I did, and he called back and said, tell them to go to the ER. So that's what I did. Called back, said, just as I thought, he said to go to the ER. So yeah, every time the phone rang, it was a little nerve-wracking as to what situation I was going to be handling. But it was definitely interesting, and I liked working there. But the doctor himself, he was bipolar, and I never knew what kind of mood he was going to be in when he came in. Oh, Diana says my cousin works for 3 doctors. Patients yell at her all day. That's terrible. Oh, thanks so much, Vita. So yeah, I only worked for the psychiatrist for about 6 months, and then I took a data entry job. And then after 8 months of that, I got overuse syndrome. My arms got super swollen and it wouldn't go down. And the doctor said I probably had some underlying disorder that was causing the swelling. So I didn't have permanent nerve damage or anything, but I can't play the piano as much as I used to be able to, or it will swell and then I'll feel like I got hit in the funny bone, like nonstop. When my husband and I were dating, I was draining some pasta with a small pot, and I looked away for a moment, and he said, you just poured boiling water on your hand. And I said, no, I didn't. And he goes, I just watched you pour boiling water on your hand. Oh, Melly, thank you. And I said, I would feel it if I poured boiling water on my hand. And then a few minutes later, the feeling came back, and ow, yeah, I poured boiling water on my hand. So my doctor said, don't ever take a typing job ever again. And it was very upsetting that I couldn't play the piano as much as I used to. But the issue was my supervisors were forcing me to put my wrists down on the wrist pads as I typed. And I said, that hurts when I do that. That doesn't feel natural. I'm like, this is the way I play the piano, and this is the way I type. I do it the same way. And that was actually pinching the nerve. And when I went to an occupational therapist later, they said, the wrist pads are for when you're resting. They're not for when you're typing. And so the company had put this nurse on my case, and she said, well, it's not their fault that you got injured. And I said, actually, it is. It is their fault. So that job was it would non-stop typing. And at the time we were working on a project for Yale's rare book room. And this was just taking images of old cards from the card catalog, and some of them were like foreign languages and stuff, and we had to figure out, okay, what on there is the author and what is the title and stuff. And I loved doing that because I took 4 years of German, and I felt like I was really useful when it came to the German titles that we came across. But yeah, after 8 months of typing for 5 hours a day, it really messed me up. And then I've got my other health problems. So I tried I tried to work after my husband and I got married, and I would get so sick after lunch every single day, and I was supposed to be doing phones, and I kept having, and I was actually a temp worker, and I didn't know any of these people, and it was so embarrassing because I had to run to the bathroom over and over again and beg someone to cover the phones for me. So yeah, and I still hadn't been correctly diagnosed, so we didn't even know why things were happening. Yeah, so throughout our marriage, I have not had very much luck bringing in income until I started teaching piano. So my husband's work situation changed where he started working 4 10-hour days, had Mondays off, and I said, okay, I'm going to start teaching piano on Mondays. And then when our kids got a bit older, I would just teach a couple lessons after school, and that was what helped us finally get a house. And then I was very pregnant with Sabrina, and we moved into the house, and I still kept driving to our old town while pregnant with Sabrina, and those students said, just bring her along, bring the baby with you. It was hard to move to a new town and start over, and especially when the teachers here taught for cheaper, so then I had to drop my rates. And the thing is, I've never raised my rates ever. Like, I very much appreciate how expensive it is to have lessons. I'm very grateful that my parents paid for my lessons for 7 years. And yeah, I had so YouTube made some changes where if your video, so it used to be if your videos were 10 minutes, you could do ads in the middle of a video, and then they changed it to 8 minutes. And then they asked, do you want us to add them automatically, retroactively? And I thought, okay, but I had no idea how many they were gonna add, and as a viewer, yeah, it drives me nuts. And so I've spent some time going into my old videos and removing some ads. And one of the videos I did was 90 minutes long, and that one I had an ad like every 10 minutes, which if you're like watching TV, they happen more often than that. And I kind of lost it this one day on this lady because she came in and said 10 ads. 10. You are greedy. And I just went off on her, and I said, I'm a piano teacher. You don't know what it takes to make these videos. I talked to the scammer for this long, and then I had to trim it down. And I spent all this time like adding music. I've spent money on equipment. I spent money on editing stuff. And I said, I've never raised my rates on my students ever. And when I know of children whose parents lost their jobs, like I have actually given free lessons to a kid who is heartbroken that they can't take lessons until their dad gets a job. And like this one boy, he wasn't even my student. And I told his mom, just send him to my place. So yeah, I am not greedy. If I were greedy, I would probably be successful in life. Vita says, my husband and I are musicians. We give lessons and hire teachers for the instruments we don't play. The students I have taught for a long time and love. I know, don't you get like so attached to your students? It was really hard to move away from my students. Oh, thank you, Diana. Oh, that's a cute little animated sticker thingy. It looked first, it looked like a purple butt. Am I the only one who feels like a... Because first the pom-poms were together. I'm like, why? Why the butt? So anyway, there's my employment history for you. And years ago, Eric started saying, you should start a YouTube channel, Mom. And YouTube is not something to start if you need money right now. It is, it's an uphill battle. But I started to think, okay, maybe I should, because I realized as my kids got older and became teenagers, and I had Barbie can't unsee the purple butt. I realized as I had more activities and stuff, it was going to get harder to teach as many piano lessons. So it's really great that I decided to do YouTube, because what I didn't account for was that my dad would get cancer, and yeah, I had to be more available for my parents. So I'm not rich, but usually I'm able to cover our van payment with my YouTube revenue. Very grateful for that. Diana, are you leaving? Are you going to bed? Hi, Ben's girls. Ben says she remembers when I had only 3,000 subscribers. Good night, Diana. Good night, Julie. Okay, now I'm looking at the butt again from Diana. Glenn, what kind of musician were you? Hi, Crimson Dream. Okay, Barbie says the worst job I ever had was a clerical job in San Francisco. I was 19 and my middle-aged boss always told filthy jokes. Ew. Luckily, it was a summer job. Yeah, that would be really difficult to handle. Glad you enjoyed the stories, Lenny. Hey, which of you are Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure fans? Because we watched Bill and Ted Face the Music, and I think it is so dang funny. Like, it's actually my favorite. I keep watching it. The robot is so funny. So if you need a laugh, I suggest watching that. But if you're not familiar with Bill and Ted, I'm not sure if it would be as funny to you. Like, I'm not sure if you would understand the backstory. So I was gonna rent it on Amazon, and it was the same price to buy it. It was just $4.99. So I said, okay, guess we're buying it then. And now I'm glad, because now I can laugh over and over again. Oh, and if you have Disney Plus, I recommend Eddie the Eagle, which is a true story about a guy who, I guess he was a young adult, decided he wanted to be a ski jumper, and it has Hugh Jackman in it too. So, but yeah, I started to tell my dad about it, and my dad goes, "I know about that because I watched the Olympics then." That was back in the 80s, and it's not like really a comedy, but there are lots of things that do make you laugh. But yeah, he was a brave guy, and it's really just a story about someone who believes in themselves when nobody else does, and I love that. I really admire that trait, and I love that he's so dang proud of himself. Even though he doesn't win a medal, for him it's just all about doing his best and also setting a record for his country. Douglas, Short Circuit. Did they remake that one? I haven't seen that one in forever. Like, sometimes we'll say, oh, we should watch this with our kids. And then we go, oh, I forgot how much swearing they had in the movies in the 80s. Some of it we end up having to shut off. Like, lots of stuff I only saw edited for TV. And so one time we said, let's watch Christmas Vacation. I think we bought it, and then within 5 minutes, all right, we're going to turn this off. So, we also like the movie Soul. That's not a funny movie, but it's heartwarming. Oh yeah, Heather, you gotta watch Bill and Ted. Oh, thank you, Vita. The train's coming. Can you hear the train? Tim, my mom tried to teach me how to sew, but it didn't go very well. Well, it's been a little over an hour, so I should probably get going, but I was so determined to tell you guys about talking to the real Sylvia. I still can't believe it. Like, only took me 4 years to call. If I had been faster, I could have talked to Roger too, maybe. So, good night. Thank you again for the super chats. Thank you for supporting me just in comments. Very grateful for you guys. I haven't gone live for a long time, just because it's been really, hard. Like, after the storming of the Capitol, I'm like, all right, this place is crazy. So, I'm glad you love my channel, Tim. Thank you. I'm hoping things will calm down. Also, my mom has been fainting, and we don't know why, so that's been very upsetting. So, it was really great to have such a nice conversation with Sylvia today after wondering for years what she's like. Okay, thanks again. And hopefully I'll have a new video for you guys soon. I have all sorts of video ideas. I'm just having a hard time making it happen. Hope you guys are doing well. Good night.